Hello, data enthusiasts. Welcome to the Open Data Cafe, the podcast of Data Europa.eu, the official portal for European data. In each episode, our fantastic guests will share insights and experiences on open data, whether we're talking about how open data can foster transparency in government, kickstart innovative new businesses, enable powerful AIs, or empower citizens like you and me. We got it all covered. I'm your host, Gianfranco Cecconi. I've been knee-deep in the data sharing scene for quite some time, many of which contributing to Data Europa.eu. Today I'm the Executive Director of the Data Spaces Support Center, yet another initiative dedicated to the implementation of the European data strategy. Our guest for today is Dominique Roest, a management consultant with Capgemini Invent. She will share with us the heroic story of her team addressing societal challenges using data and specifically supporting smallhold farmers in the global south. With Dominique, we will be talking about the kind of skills you need in a successful project, the different kinds of data you use, and the importance to involve the users. And now, let's meet Dominique. Good morning, Dominique.
Hi, good morning, Gianfranco.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm very good. I'm very good. Happy. It's a beautiful day outside, and I'm very, very glad you found the time to be with us telling your story. I was telling my colleagues earlier, we are going to use you as our hero today. There's a bit of a progression story in how you deal with societal problem using data, and that's the whole point of having you with us today. But first, introduce yourself to us first and tell us more about your projects as well.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Dominique. I'm from the Netherlands. I live in Utrecht, and I've been working at Capgemini Invent for 4 years. And I have a background in biomedical sciences, something quite different. And now I'm in strategic consulting with a focus on process excellence. I joined Project Farm 2 years ago, and with that project, Capgemini offers smallholder farmers insights by using different sources of data. And we focus on smallholder farmers because they do not have the power to find the right data, and they do not have the power to, yeah, the tools or the means to get insights in their current situation.
You say that the project started a few years ago and you went through several iterations. Can you give us an example of what you did, or what the projects were about, where they were perhaps focused, and what kind of problems they were trying to address?
Yes, of course. So Project Farm actually became somewhat of an umbrella term. We have projects that focus and work closely together with smallholder farmers, but we also have projects that we do in collaboration with the University of Applied Sciences here locally in Utrecht. But there's also internal projects, so improve um, um, to improve the skill set of our own employees. But the main focus is, of course, the projects we do with smallholder farmers. And there's two big ones I would like to highlight, which is the very first one we did in Kenya, where we worked with a local NGO, and they wanted to, um, well, first off, give smallholder farmers insights into yeah, what their future yield was going to be. And second, they asked us to, well, create a credit risk model so they could calculate which farmers to safely give credit to, so they could manage the risk of getting paid back. The second project we did, which is actually piloted this November with 2,500 sugarcane farmers, is in India. And it's one of the things we find important is to create a solution that's um, yeah, a good fit with the situation. So the situation in Kenya was not the exact situation. It was not definitely not a copy paste. Um, so the situation in India was focused around giving more of a training to how to create the best how to get the best yield out of the means they have.
So if you are the hero of the story, you are the team, as I was saying earlier. I guess every hero story starts from a point of trouble, a challenge of some kind. Yeah? And I guess you named already the challenge of finding the data you need, but I guess that also some degree of data literacy and skill in the process itself. Even if you have all the data in the world and you don't know how to process it, that's still is a challenge. In the two projects you described, are you supporting the farmers also along the way, or perhaps you give them already, you produce the insight for them so that they can take action from it?
Yeah, so the strength of this project is working together with a local NGO. So what we did in Kenya, we also did in India. You need someone who understands their situation really well. So we have a local agricultural expert group who works together with us. Um, and of course, what you're saying is totally true. Data literacy, or even how to extract the right information in your own language, is so difficult. We maybe with the European point of view think, oh, we can get, like, the world is at our fingertips. We can get information on the World Wide Web at any moment of the day. But there are so many languages in India, and in this specific case, we're talking about Maharashtrian. So, sorry, the region is called Maharashtra, and the language is called Marathi, and it's not so easy to get the right information in Marathi. Um, so we work closely together with the smallholder farmers themselves. We actually created the icons that are used in the application in a workshop together with the farmers. So we asked them, what uh, what do you think a fertilizer looks like? And they all started creating their own icons. What does irrigation look like to you? How would you draw sugar cane, for example? So they could easily, when they open the application, easily recognize where to click. And then, of course, next in line was, okay, how to explain all of these new techniques to them. We can choose to write it all down like a step-by-step plan. However, literacy, so not even data literacy, but literacy itself, is also sometimes a hurdle. So the agricultural expert said, we're going to make training videos so they can just hear it in their own language, see what we're doing, and yeah, support them in every step of the way.
There are at least 2, 3 points that I like a lot in what you described that I would like to go back to. The first is the importance of subject matter experts to make the data meaningful to some degree. When I was younger, I was going to say, yeah. When I was younger, I used to say that the minimum data project needs 3 people: a data scientist, a statistician, and a subject matter expert. The data scientist you need to build the thing. For example, in your case, it's the app. The statistician you need for the robustness of your analysis, just to be sure not to be too easy with numbers. You know, it's so easy to be biased or not to give enough depth to the analysis you're doing. And the third one, the subject matter expert, that is probably the only person who can really give meaning to those numbers. Even if you have perfect data coming in, if you don't know, if you have not in the team someone who can give meaning to the data, you're probably going to just make a very intellectual exercise that has no applicability. And the second bit you named is the icons. Feels like a trivial thing, right? But it's not. So there is no accessibility to the data and to the application unless you take down the barriers to fruition. So you may have perfect data and perfect insight, and you can't get there, or you don't know where to click, or unfortunately in this case, even basic literacy may be a problem, and you really have a wall built in front of you before you can get to the information you need. Do you recognize your experience, your challenge in what I described?
Yes, we recognize that fully because we always say we are data engineers, we're strategic consultants, we're IT architects, but we're not farmers. This is not something um, that is our cup of tea. We what we do like to do is help others and build applications that work. And for us, exactly, a subject matter expert is essential to make these things work. So we created a framework, like a way of working to extrapolate all of our experiences we've had in Kenya, we've had in India, towards building a new application in the future. And we, in that framework, we say we need at least three teams. So a team of subject matter experts, which can be smallholder farmers, but we should think of the entire supply chain. So you can also think of traders. We can think of um, the local factory. Then we need a team of developers. So this is a long list of people, but it does also include a data scientist and a statistician. But we need a lot more, like a UX designer. And then we have the core team, which is a combination of both, together with a project lead. Um, and we think that's the recipe for success.
Of course, open data is an ingredient in what you build for the smallholders, and I'm curious to know what exactly you managed to find in the territory you deliver your projects within, and what kind of challenges reusing that open data is giving you and the farmers. Can you tell us a little more about that?
So I think open data played a crucial role in the start of the project because you're trying to think of a new way to help smallholder farmers, and then you start looking for what data is already available and what data can I get my hands on. However, it's quite hard to find the right set of data in terms of, I guess, in terms of data quality, in terms of reliability. If I use this data set now, will I be able to use it in the future? Um, and so we did start off with open data, but we realized as well that we needed data from the people on the ground. That would speak the most to their situation, and data from the local NGO. Um, But of course, weather data is something we get as an open data source, and especially the projects we do with the University of Applied Sciences, we definitely motivate them to find as many open data sources as they can. Also because it inspires us. So they have, um, yeah, their ways of searching the web like no other. I think young people. So when they present their new project to us or their project ideas to us, we always are a bit surprised or amazed even by the things they find.
So you give me more ingredients for the hero story we started from. That is, the many types of data you use are many characters in your story. So the open data is a support in the beginning, perhaps. Some of it also accompanying you along the project, but also becoming potentially a challenge if it disappears. That's something that not many think about. That it's not just about the open data you can find now, but the open data you can reuse and you can count on and rely on to be still there for you to reuse 1 year from now. The problem of the sustainability of availability of that resource, but also perhaps commercial sources of data as well you can probably access to, and the data itself sourced by the farmers. Um, if quickly, can I ask you how you collect the data from the farmers themselves? What do you use?
So it depends on how the local NGO works together with farmers, but we usually do questionnaires. A field agent visits a farmer, has a couple of questions to ask, and then they re-enter it in a database. And of course, you can already hear there's also a bit of a reliability issue here or a quality issue of over retyping or yeah.
Humans,
making
you know.
errors, exactly, human errors, which is also okay. That's also what we learn from. But we can't. It's not always a possibility to go with 500 tablets to 2,500 farmers. But it's something we're working towards. Once you have that proof of concept, once people start believing in the idea, I think if we when we grow, we do need that kind of data reliability.
I like the idea of seeing the farmers as an integral part of the project itself, not just as the receiver of that insight. And you describe well how they need to contribute to the project, starting from the data collection itself. Do they have a role besides being the receivers at the end? Do they also have other roles in how you perhaps co-create the solution together? And for example, you explain how they actually participate to the design of the application itself. There's something I was curious to ask you, Dominic, that is with relation to how reliable the licensing of the data you can use is. I mean, is a challenge even in Europe. The licensing sometimes is not clear. Copyright information, rights to reuse, using a standard license or not. How careful do you need to be in choosing your sources, and do you feel comfortable you have enough information, or you would like it to be better? Perhaps I'm actually giving you the answer there.
Good question. I think privacy is a very hot topic, and it should always be. So when we collect data from the farmers, it's important to also um, to give the right standards with to the field agents. So please do not take pictures without asking. We need when we recorded the video, we had affidavit saying, "Hey, I find it okay that my face will be used internationally." Um, so yeah, that's something we think about all the time. We do see in our very first project, we did receive a data set that had all kinds of information that was very unnecessary. So we did give that back to the local NGO, like, hey, these are things you really need to watch. Um, and I think it's a learning process altogether.
We are close to the end of our time together. I would like to start thinking about the future of what the project could be. Possibly even thinking about the weaknesses or what you missed from the past projects, what you would like a future ideal project farm to tackle, and how.
Wow, that's a great question. I think so. To keep on the topic of open data and how we started our very first project, to think about next steps, we would love to expand this project not only in Kenya and India, but all other countries that have smallholder farmers that could benefit from um, modeling data and creating insights with that. I think there are many smallholder farmers around the world struggling, and we can, yeah, with the means we have, definitely help them. So to have open data in each of those locations could definitely speed up the way we implement our application. Open data should help even so it's not my um, it's not the need of Capgemini to be a global farm project. However, I would love for local innovators to use open data to create insights for their local farmers, because we've seen that's the essence of our success. To start to keep the data local, to start with a local expert, and to get the local end user thinking about the solution together.
And I guess it's not just open data in this case, but also all of the side products of it, say other kind of data sets produced from insights from the original data sets, or possibly even, say, the models that you built for AI training, or anything that could be reused in general. It would be nice if we got to a point where the reliability of the data you got in the quality of the work you do with your colleagues produce something that could be reused freely outside and not just stay within farm, as you say, benefiting others in other countries, in other territories, simply because, without oversimplifying things, of course, I'm not a farmer or an agriculture expert. I can't make statements that are too strong about it, but I presume that the patterns of what you work on in Project Farm probably are applicable in many other areas of the world, and if not Kenya, perhaps other African countries and so on.
Yes, I believe so as well. And I think the actual power of doing this season after season, year after year, would create so much data that you could rely on as neighboring farmers, as neighboring countries, to improve the way of farming in general and to increase the yield, at least locally.
And I wonder if there would be something to learn also for the north of the world, let's say, from this experience, being a bit more open, being able to share the insight that does not compromise, they say, the competitive advantage or the confidentiality of the business, but being able to work collaboratively together. And by the way, some effort in this direction is already being taken in the European Union, for example, with what is commonly called the data spaces, that include one for agriculture, with the ambition to get farmers to work together, not necessarily by dropping the confidentiality and the privacy of what they do, but rather to share information that can be a benefit of the whole sector, let's say. And also for the impacts on the side, topics like, say, the sustainability of the environment, that particularly in the north of the world is so much linked to the performance of agriculture, isn't it?
Definitely learn a lot from their ways of farming, actually, because there's one beautiful technique I would love to highlight here, and it's called the Saguna rice technique. In other countries, it's called dry rice technique. And it's a more sustainable way of rice farming. And it's a maybe a kind of an ancient technique used in India, but we should all move towards that technique because it uses less water, decreases methane emissions, and increases yield. So yeah, there's a lot to learn of from sharing data with each other and sharing knowledge with each other.
So on that message, I would say we can comfortably close this episode. Thanks so much, Dominic, to be with us. And I hope that by the next time we meet again, perhaps we will have more stories and more heroic adventures
I
from
hope so.
Project Farm.
Thank you a lot.
Thanks, Dominic. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.